Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we kept going with our Void Crusade and we're getting close to finishing it finally. So, we will continue on from here. We only have a few missions left and they're going to be pretty straightforward at this rate. Hang on, why is that one that way? Huh. I may have done an oopsie, because there's supposed to be a mission in between these three in the gap, and it's not showing up. So that might have been my fault. Oh no, I know why. Because I completely skipped a mission I was supposed to do way earlier. This one. Okay, so we're gonna knock this one out first. Yeah, let's not mess with it. Oh, that would have been nice to have earlier. Increased damage against Chaos Cultists, reduced damage from Chaos Cultists, but whatever. It'll be fast. So, fun little thing before we get into this is we got our effects on our shotgun. 50% chance to cause bleed on a physical critical hit. Bonus damage for bleeding effects. Improved critical hit chance. This shotgun is pretty strong. And it combines with our chance to cause a bleeding stack on physical skill hit. And our plus 3 seconds to bleeding duration. So we can leverage this pretty well. I want to find a new version of this because this is a level 14 Signum. But for the moment, it's what we got. But it's solid. Hot, 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 hot. Shouldn't have walked in the fire. I will admit my one complaint is because the Puritans stuff is leveraging heat damage, it makes the shotgun a little weaker. Because I can't just get shields off of shooting enemies. Though if it did have the slots, I could, because then I'd turn it into half heat and go through that. That would be cool, but I think we need minimum 3 slots, and it doesn't have that. Oh well. We still have a cool weapon, and that's really all that matters. I'd rather have a cool weapon that doesn't absolutely min-max than just have something I never touch and never bother with. God, I am, for some reason, just moving with the swiftness. But I think I just kind of hit my limit of I can't keep just sprinting through splattering guys. It's fun flattening them, but can't do it forever. I saw recently Embracer is actually having some issues, financial problems, which is unfortunate. What happened was they're making some like $2 billion deal with I think the Saudis, and it fell through for reasons unknown, which is rough. And what's even rougher is for some reason they didn't, like, I don't know what they did, but apparently they must have, like, spent the $2 billion that they were gonna have in preparation, and now that that deal fell through, they're now scrambling to not be $2 million in the hole. The dumb part is, first off, they're laying off some guys in Cryptic Studios, which, if the name kinda tracks, Cryptic worked on City of Heroes back in the day. They run Star Trek Online, Champions Online, and Neverwinter. Them cutting guys isn't a surprise because Neverwinter is the youngest of the games, and that's 10 years old. Everything else is, I think, 13 for Star Trek, and Champions Online is 14 years old. So it's not like these games are new and they're not drawing in tons of new blood. So seeing them get let go, I'm like, yeah, they needed to make something. That's kind of the unfortunate reality, is they needed to make something and they weren't, so you have to go, do you need all the people? But they're also looking at, because I had mentioned before, talking about how they want to consider selling part of Gearbox. But they're also looking to sell Free Radical, which is the revived studio behind Time Splitters. And this is one that just, I don't get, people. Because I get the idea is they don't want to hemorrhage more money. But at the same time, if they sell the studio now, they're not getting what they paid for it. Full stop. Especially now, since the acquisition wars seem to have kind of died, thankfully. But going with that, they should realistically swallow the debt, roll with Free Radical until the game launches. Then figure out, is this making money or not? If it is wholly profitable, good. Then they can take some of the money and cover the $2 billion debt. But just dropping the studio is essentially just saying, hey, all the money we spent, we're lighting it on fire. Maybe we can recoup 3/4 of it. But it depends, because there's a lot of questions in play. How much have they really spent already? Because they had to set up the studio and hire the people. It's only been like 2 years. But then there's the problem of how much is the development budget of the game, because if we use other games as a metric, that's anywhere from, at the end of the day, it'll be $50 to $150, $200 million. But, in theory, it can be made back. And that's AAA budget. That's top AAA budget at the high end. Oh, we need to go to the teleporter. Huh. That's unexpected. But so, I get where Embracer is coming from, but at the same time I'm looking at it like, you guys shouldn't just be saying, screw it, we're losing money, quick, just throw out the baby with the bathwater. Because it's not going to help them in the long run. I just hope they decide to keep Free Radical, because otherwise Time Splitters is on ice again, and everybody's saying, oh, well, they could get picked up by someone else. I think Microsoft realistically is done acquiring for the time. They got their big studios, and I think if they acquire anyone else, they're really going to start getting grilled for it. And if they haven't been forced to divest yet, any more acquisitions, I think it's going to be forced divestment, and they don't want that. Because then at that point, it'll be, look, you idiots just bought Activision, what more do you want? And I follow that entirely. Like, you already bought one of the major publishers. You buying anything else comes off as extremely predatory. And Sony, I see people who are like, oh, well, Sony could do it. Sony is too stupid. Tragically, they're dumb. The people in charge, Jim Ryan's on his way out. If they have someone already in place, they're just kind of easing in, and they're dumb. They're not going to make a good decision like, hey, we could get our own cool arcade shooter to maybe challenge Halo. They're like, no, Horizon again. Because that works, right? I saw for the Golden Joystick Award, Horizon, they have a VR game, it won an award, and I looked at it and I went, that game came out? Shows you how well advertised it was. There we go, that's the quest I was looking for. Oh, this is gonna suck because it's gonna have way higher difficulty now. Ah, screw it, Weeball. We're gonna go for it, it's gonna hurt. Yeah, it's gonna hurt. But 72, 68, 68, 71. This'll be our exit. 67, 70, 72, so it's doable. And it's only a Nurgle infestation. That's easy to handle. We can manage that. I'm not too surprised though with Embracer. Like, I had a feeling they were expanding a little too fast. I mean, look at Gearbox. What has Gearbox put out? Borderlands? And even then, that's been a number of years. Maybe another Tales from the Borderlands? I don't know, I don't play those games. I don't really care for, like, modern... I can't even call it a point-and-click adventure, because it's not. It's just a text story. They were really trying to cash in on the whole Telltale Games fad. And I don't like those. I think they're really boring, and they're very done to death at this rate. But it sucks. I also saw Pearl Abyss, who bought Crowd Control Productions, so they own Eve now. They're focusing on, like, money making, which, one, I was like, isn't that your modus operandi as a company? You should always be focusing on money making. But then there was the funny part to me of, you're focusing on money making, yet you own EVE Online. Especially with EVE Vanguard. And yes, I'm going to keep saying it in a shitty voice because I will never stop hating on that game now. They fumbled the bag so hard, and the copium coming out of the people who are looking forward to it is genuinely kind of painful. Yeah, I think this might be plasma. Okay. I can't fire it between the things, so I have to step to the side and then it works. I did have to laugh at the people who were like, oh man, Cryptic firing guys, that's the end of things for Embracer. I was like, no, it really isn't. A studio that was more or less running 3 MMOs on what I would consider to be life support, it's not that surprising. And at the end of the day, MMOs are expensive. People always seem to forget, like, the reason they're not that frequent anymore, and we've had the live service MMO light kind of design come into play, is because a standard MMO back in the day cost tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to make. It's also why a lot of those studios during the MMO craze of the 2000s and early 2010s, a lot of them went under. Because it's feast or famine. You're either succeeding in balling out of control, or the other option, it's either you succeed and ball out of control, you instantly die, or you kind of waste away. Which we kind of see with some of the remaining ones, like the Old Republic or even ESO. They try to recoup their losses and their costs by doing everything possible. So they're like, oh, well, we have loot boxes and here's a premium version. Like, ESO is one that bugs me. You can pay for the DLCs, but then you have to buy the dungeons, or you can pay for a subscription that'll get you silver, so the microtransaction currency, and you get all that stuff available for free, but if you cancel your subscription, you have to spend money to buy those things. So you are more or less, if you wanted to at any point stop your subscription, you have to pay for the subscription, get the silver out of it, then use that silver to buy the expansions so that you can eventually stop paying for access to the expansions. It's the stupidest setup. Especially when, because of that terrible design, some expansions, some dungeons are dead. It's such a stupid problem that the fact that they don't realize they're actively killing their game in a death by 1,000 cuts kind of degree astounds me. It's the same reason Call of Duty had issues back in the day with not battle passes, expansions and map packs, where I think it was, people most frequently bought the first and fourth map packs, and the third map pack was the lowest player count maps, because by then all your casuals had kind of left for the season and you were left with just sweats and people who actually cared, but a lot of your sweats wouldn't play those maps because the casuals who stuck around didn't buy the map packs, so they would just uninstall them anyways and just play the normal maps. It's such a wonky setup that the fact it isn't recognized to this day is astounding. It's one of those things where I'm like, am I the only person or one of a handful of people noticing this? Or, like, what's the deal? Because I feel like the pattern is so very noticeable that to not notice it is weird. Like, yeah, you probably shouldn't keep all your content private. Like, that's how it is with Destiny. where their stupid system is like, oh yeah, you have to buy all this content to access stuff. And it's like, at a certain point, don't. Especially since they're double dipping into people for dungeon passes and all this crap, but Bungie will send themselves under in due time. I've had to laugh. I've had people be like, oh, you're a Sony fanboy. I'm like, nah. I would be a fanboy if they were actually competent, but they aren't, so they don't get staunch defense from me. I'll hold them as accountable as anybody else. That's it, shotgun. Damn, they've got a summon off. That could have went better, that could have went worse. All these healing structures just... Man, this place is wild. Yeah, I definitely wish my shotgun had the slots to turn it into a half-heat weapon. Then I would just go crazy. I was looking at some of the physical skill abilities. One of them for physical damage extends bleed duration even further by another like 2 seconds, and I thought, oh my god, can you imagine 5 extra seconds of bleed on enemies? But I still have to go through the defense tree. I think I still have a little bit of debuff to go through. Who knows? If I have the skill points at the end of the day, I might go for it. It's a little more reliable to just go through physical than to go through the AoE tree. But I'd still like to go through that. Even part of it, just for like AoE damage and AoE range. I think I might have those. Let's actually check, because I can... No, I don't have anything for that. But yeah, I'd go for these. I don't really care about the grenade skill, but through that. Suppression damage is worthless, but the radius might be useful. That is actually nuts. Because, think about that, 100 suppression, and... So that's 15 HP for every kill. As long as I gain suppression. We could do something cool with that. But this, the damage, effect range for cone skills, that's good. We could do some cool stuff. I don't really care about eradicative protocols. It's kind of moot. It's the same with, like, this single DPS line. I got what I needed. But... we'll see. I might be able to squeeze out some extra levels here or there. I know next season, in terms of recording, I'm gonna get the character to like 30 and then record so we can kind of skip that early phase. And we can try to get a few more levels in before the season ends. I'm actually gonna for sure run a second character at the end, because there's like a kind of like in this, where there's boss fights that are tied to the season, and there's a special, like, emblem for your character, for your account, that drops from the bosses, and I want to get it because it looks neat. Yep, that's everything. Hang on, is this everything? I think so. Yeah. Alright, let's mulch some stuff because we're sitting on some gear. Alright, we got time for another one we can squeeze in. What are we looking at? Probably the mission we were supposed to do, instead of having to hop around. Secure the... oh yeah, that's easy. So there's an info fragment here.
Reloading.
Oh, I saw the nominees for the Game Awards. They had best, like, community support, and one of the nominees was Destiny 2, and people were like, really? We're gonna put Destiny on here, considering everything that's been going on with them, and how badly they've kind of failed supporting the community. I was like, yeah, in supporting the game in general, they've kind of dropped the ball. But they did have No Man's Sky on there, and I hope Hello Games wins again. Or at least wins, because they have supported No Man's Sky beyond, I think, anyone's expectations. And they deserve it. They could have dropped that game years ago, but they've kept it up, and depending on what their next game looks like, if it interests me, I'll definitely grab it. If it's just not my style, then I'm not going to sit here and blindly buy it out of some misguided sense of loyalty. Because if it's not for me, it's not for me. Simple as that. But they've definitely earned good faith in my eyes. The guy in charge, Sean Murray, he's become like the anti-Todd Howard or the anti-Peter Molyneux, where instead of telling us a bunch of over-exaggerated claims and never delivering, he still told over-exaggerated claims for the time, but through time and perseverance actually delivered.
Loading. Reloading.
That is the shiniest looking blood. I just remembered, Dark Tide's supposed to get another update. I still don't really care. I kinda... as little as I actually played that game, I kinda got my fill. It's the unfortunate reality of games made by Fat Shark, where you kinda have to wait a year, 2, maybe even 3 years from launch, and then the game's good. There's rumors that the next enemies they're gonna add will be, what was it? Gene Stealer Cult, which would be cool, but
Loading.
at the same time, that's essentially just the reskinned version of the Nurgle cultists, because you're gonna have a bunch of like garbage neophytes or something like that as your trash mobs. You'll probably have like a gene stealer as one of the big enemies. You're gonna have just normal sniper man. You're gonna have nothing super unique, which is a little unfortunate. I wonder if anyone can, because we kind of saw it in Darktide, but if anyone could really take the looter shooter aspect and kind of crank it up to 11. But I think there's a lot that would have to go into it. Like, realistically, I think if we're gonna focus on just dumping all our proverbial stats into anything, I think it needs to be very RPG oriented. Classes need to mean a lot. I would go as far as to have almost prestige classes. You know, really kind of go nuts with some of your abilities and have a ton of variety. Because I think you could do some neat things. But I think at the end of the day, there's a lot you have to really think about, and I like the idea, but I'd really have to sit down and him and ha some of it.
Loading.
Seasonal mission available. Oh, that must mean we leveled up our thing. Cool. Good. Finally. I was waiting for that to happen. This whole time I've been waiting. I'm like, gonna have another one of these pop off anytime soon, or am I just kind of waiting in the wings? Apparently I checked my progress and it said we completed and killed every new like seasonal boss in their new locations, or whatever locations are said to appear. Which is kind of cool. I'm for it.
I wonder what this machine does. Loading.
I was just thinking about RPGs and it reminded me of Pathfinder. I was looking at their 2nd edition stuff more because I'd only looked at their monster manual prior. I was like, okay, let's look at the feats and, you know, your general character creation. Let's see what's up. Dude, what the hell did they do to the skill system? 'Cause I was looking at some of the feats and they're like, oh yeah, this acrobatics feat, you have to be a master. And I'm like, wait, what? They did like a, I don't even know how to describe it, like a ranking? So instead of just you get plus something, you now are categorized? It's the strangest setup. I was, for the life of me, trying to figure it out, but the whole time I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is genuinely kind of stupid. I get it was done mostly, I think, for avoiding the OGL, because Wizards is stupid and will probably still do their dumb rule enforcement sometime down the line. But God, it's gross. That's something I find kind of funny is Wizards, I don't think they realize how badly they've damaged not only their brand, but everyone else. And how it doesn't drive people to them, it just kind of drives people out of the hobby. Because, like, I don't want to get the new stuff because it looks stupid. I don't want to get D&D 5.5 because it's not fixing the core flaws of the game. If anything, I'm just kind of going back to what already existed and just playing old stuff, because that's finished. There's homebrew rebalances, and it generally doesn't suck as hard. Did this mission... Yeah, whatever. There's a data fragment or something, we'll figure it out. I think I grabbed it. I'm playing this and kind of half paying attention. Such is always my curse. If I didn't grab it, oh well. It's a data fragment, I'm not too broken up, it just means I don't know what something is. And as long as I know enough of the others, I can suss out what's what. And we can adjust accordingly. Alright, so we got that seasonal boss mission, always good to see. A lot of stuff. That's not terrible, but in comparison, that's still not the greatest. Bolt gun. That's actually really strong, if we're being honest. If it was a relic, it'd be perfect, because all hits are guaranteed critical strikes for 3 seconds. I can just mag dump that and get a ton of crits. Increased XP, always appreciated. Poison on physical skill hit, works with the dot tree bonuses we've put in. Suppression gained on hit. It's neither here nor there, but it's nice considering we're built around at this point starting to do regen off of suppression. And then damage for single shot. Perfect setup to plink a guy, get the critical strikes, and then just full auto it. But it's lower quality. I can't make it better than what I have. So it's going in the dumpster. Cool, bonus damage for T-Bolt, but I'm not doing T-Bolt, so... Womp womp. Everything go bye-bye. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button, it helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.